Hey, what's going on, guys? Okay, so I've been trying to make this video like 5, 6 different times, and every time I've been distracted or people have come to me and talked to me, so I had to go further away to a place where I probably won't get bothered. Okay, so the video I want to make today is okay. So here's the thing: I want to do a series called Story Time. And what story time is basically tell you stories about my things that happened in my life, embarrassing things, cool things, bad things, just to kind of be honest with people. And especially in the slingshot world and the motorsports world, there's a lot of embarrassing stories that I can tell you. So I just want to make a series labeled Story Time. So let me come to the first story of this series. And what the clickbait, what the thumbnail is not a clickbait, but it isn't. But let me tell you the story so you'll understand exactly what I'm trying to talk about. So, let me say this first of all. This story I'm about to tell you is crazy, but at the time when it was happening, I was worried. But now that I look back at what happened, I kind of laugh at it and just like feel so much better about the situation. Okay, so let me tell you what happened. Okay, so if you haven't known or I've not said anything yet, I moved from Atlanta, Georgia to Houston, Texas, and there's a reason why I moved, which I will make a video about that later. But let's just say that this move was not predicted and this move was in a hurry. Okay, nothing crazy, not running from the police or anything like that, or not running from the law or nothing like that. Just things that happen. Okay, so I had to move within 30 days, and trying to move everything you own in 30 days is crazy. So I packed all my stuff in the U-Haul, had someone drive it down, and then I eventually drove down with truck and trailer to Houston, Texas. Now, that's 12 hours, okay? 12-hour drive, one way. And I left my slingshots there in Georgia for a couple of months while I was trying to figure out my moves here in Houston. But now that I got kind of things settled, I'm like, okay, how am I going to get my slingshots down here to Houston, Texas? So I had 3 options. One option was to fly back to Atlanta and drive the slingshots back, me and my wife. But I'm thinking that's 12 hours riding the slingshot. There could be rain, there could be traffic, and that's a lot of miles, which I'm not afraid to put miles on my slingshot. Don't get me wrong, I will ride the hell out of my slingshots. But I just don't want to ride it continuously that many hours, that long. So that was the option. Another option was to trailer them down, because I do have a trailer that could take one slingshot at a time. So that means I would have to drive my truck and trailer from Houston to Atlanta, pick one up, drive it back, then drive it back again. That's 4 trips, okay, 4 trips. And that's a lot of gas and a lot of time. So I'm still thinking what other things I can do. So my last thing I thought of is get a transport company. And how much the transport company was charging. So if anybody's ever done a transport company, they look at Shipping Wars and you'll understand that basically there's groups of people out there who do nothing but transport for a living. And basically they bid on jobs. Now some people can be able to have a job, transport something from one place, and maybe be able to go and pick up something else on the way to make 2 or 3 times the money. Basically like car share, I guess, in a way, but this would be shipping shares, I guess. But in my particular situation, the slingshots, I don't think this would have to be a trip from here to there, okay? Another problem I was going to run into is people who are going to ship it, it can't just be a car hauler, because obviously there's a third wheel in the back and the middle, and most car haulers have tracks, and they're intended for 4-wheel vehicles, not 3-wheel. So that kind of lowered the type of people that could do that. So I was doing some calling, trying to find out. So finally found somebody. Okay, I found a guy. he had a 30-foot long trailer that could fit both slingshots and be able to take them at one time. And I'm like, awesome. And he's only charging me $1,500 to take him from Atlanta, Georgia to Houston, Texas, which was actually a very good deal, because even if I drove the slingshots, yeah, it would have been probably less money, but the wear and tear on them probably would have been a little bit more. Plus, also too, if I would have trailered them, I would have probably spent that much in gas alone going back and forth. So it was a very good deal, okay? Plus, also my time, because time is money, right? So I said, okay, great. Called the guy, met him down in Atlanta, Georgia, got his number, got his, his license, his business, LLC, all that stuff like that, his license plate, had all those things. And so here was his instructions, right? His instructions were I met him Friday, put the slingshots inside the trailer. I was staying for the weekend, so he met me on Friday evening. I was going to drive back Saturday night, and get there Sunday. He would have got there before I would have got there, okay? So with that being said, when he drops it off, he'll take them out of slingshots, put them in the driveway of my house, take the keys and either put them in my mailbox or give them to my neighbor across the street. So we had that plan, everything was good to go. He took off. Now, one thing I did not tell him, which I advise people, if you do this, never say this, or anybody. I had trackers on my slingshot. Yes, I have trackers on my slingshots, my scoot ski, and my stallion. Now, the reason why I have trackers on there is because I was going to rent these out when I first eventually got my slingshots, but that's another story, another video, and I did not rent them out. But I still have my trackers on there. And it's always good to have trackers, okay? Get trackers. And don't get the ones you just plug in. Get the one that's embedded into your slingshot. You know what I'm saying? Because you want that. So I didn't tell him that, and then the guy got the slingshots, took them. So it was Friday evening now. I did some running around, things like that. I checked the tracker, right? Now, picture this, okay? Here's Atlanta. Here's Houston. 12-hour difference, right? 12 hours and miles apart. Well, 12 hours apart. When I looked at the tracker, in a few hours, he was in Chattanooga. Now, Chattanooga is like an hour and a half away from Atlanta. So Chattanooga's here, okay? Atlanta's here, Houston's here, he was here. I'm like, okay, well, maybe he knew somebody or was gonna stop somewhere. Or maybe he had to pick up something light, maybe, I don't know. Because I don't think there was nothing that he could put in that trailer, because both slingshots took the whole trailer. And it was just basically a trailer with a truck. So, he was pulling with a truck. So I said, okay, well, maybe, he's doing his thing, whatever, great. Okay, cool. I look up a few hours later. Now, he went from Chattanooga, he's all the way in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I'm like, Knoxville, Tennessee, now that is kind of way out the way. So I'm just like, okay. You know what? I'm not going to say nothing. As long as he has my slingshots at my house, that's all I care about. But it did kind of in my head thinking, man, maybe that person's stealing them. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, kind of scared. I ain't gonna lie, guys. I'm kind of scared. But I didn't tell my wife, because I know my wife, okay? My wife, if I would have told her right then and there, we would have been in a truck going to Knoxville and finding my slingshots. But I wanted to give the guy a benefit of the doubt and things like that. So I waited. Then it's later that night, I'm in the hotel, I'm about to go to bed, decide to check it again. Now he is in Lexington, Kentucky. Now I know that is way off course. And I'm like, I have to tell my wife, okay? Not only is my slingshot's in there, her slingshot is in there too. So I said, okay, well, let me tell her. And before I went to bed, I was like, baby, I looked at the tracker. The Slingshots are in Lexington, Kentucky. And she was really mad and really scared. But I said, well, the thing is that I started talking to her and trying to talk her off the ledge and calm down. Because at the end of the day, if they were stolen, they got full coverage on them. So I'm okay regardless. Either way, what I paid for my Slingshots, trust me, I would have got my money back and then some. Okay, so I didn't say anything, went to bed. Couldn't really sleep, you know what I'm saying? If anybody knows how it feels to have something that you really, really love and things like that, and you don't know where it's at, you really can't sleep that well. Now, I didn't sleep well at all. So I get up early in the morning, and I look again. He is all the way in Ohio. And so I said to him, I said, well, hey, man, I text him, how's it going? He says, I'm going good. He says, I said, well, how long till you get to my house? He's like, I'm 5 hours away. And what he did was that he sent me, he took a picture of his navigation. In his truck, he has navigation, something like that. And he took a picture and sent it to me. And when I saw it, on the bottom, it said Ohio. And I said, and I called him. I said, hey. He's like, hey. He says, okay. So I have a question. Now, again, I didn't tell him I had trackers, because if I would have told him that, hey, why are you in Kentucky? Why are you in Ohio? He would have known I had trackers on my Slingshot. And if he was trying to steal them, he would have tried to find a way of disconnecting them. So what I was trying to do was, if he was stealing them, I would at least know where they were at, and I would be able to call the police and have them track them and find out where they were at, okay? So I was just trying to give him, again, a little bit of small benefit of the doubt. And I would never have thought of this, okay? Let me get this right. This mistake, I never would have thought of this. So when he sent me the picture, and it was in Ohio, I said, hey, man, why are you in Ohio? And he said, huh? I said, you're supposed to go to Texas. I specifically wrote the address down, and I specifically said about 5 times when I met him. What happened was, he called his wife, his dispatcher, whatever. What happened was that my address was 12703 Island Drive. He put 12703 Island Road, and it is a island road in Ohio, some city in Ohio. And he made a very big mistake. Oh my gosh, guys, let me tell you. He was like, I am so sorry. He wrote the wrong address. And so he said, okay, well, I'm going to go. And I said, well, look, I'm in no hurry, because I'm driving home now. I'm on the way home. And another thing too was, it wasn't like I was going to an event like a Sling Fest or Sling Experience or going to a Slingshot, something like that. So it wasn't like there was something that I need them there for. So that was a very, very good thing, because I would have been pissed. I would have been mad if I'm going to like a Sling Experience and my Slingshots are somewhere in Ohio and I'm just sitting here walking around like I don't have a Slingshot when I have not but one but 2 of them, right? And I can't show them off. I can't, this or that, ride with the people because my Slingshot's not here. So very grateful that that was not the case. So he drove. Now, I will give him this. He drove from Ohio to Texas for 15 hours, and he almost did a damn near straight 15-hour ride. But the crazy thing is, I made it home before he even got there, so which is fine. And I started to think, had I not had trackers on these Slingshots, what would have happened? Okay, now if I didn't have trackers, didn't know that they were, they weren't there, or whatever, he would have dropped them off at. Imagine. Now imagine you have a house, you're at your home in Ohio somewhere, you wake up and you see someone dropping not 1, but 2 Slingshots in your driveway and hand you the keys and they drive off. Imagine that. Just imagine you waking up and having 2 Slingshots sitting in your driveway. Or imagine that, you know, just some random person drops off slingshots in your driveway. And again, I don't know the people who they dropped off. They could have been like, "Oh, thank you. I'll let him know that they're here, and take my slingshots and go do what the hell anybody does." Or they could have been honest people and says, "Hey, this is not this. You know, we don't know what you're talking about." I don't want to take a chance on either situation. Okay, so if that situation would have happened, if he would have dropped those two slingshots off and turned around and got in his truck, and he even drove even 1 mile away from those slingshots, or drove out of the sight of those slingshots, I wouldn't want him. Nope, 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 nope. His insurance would have to pay me for both of them. And here's the reason why. I'm not trying to say, oh, well, you know, I'm trying to be money hungry. No. Who knows what could have happened? Who knows that those people, if whoever it got dropped off onto, could have took my slingshots and drove around town, this and that, messed them up. Who knows? If he would have lost sight of those slingshots, that would have been his responsibility, and he would have paid. I don't care if they were fine and nothing's wrong with them. He would have paid for my slingshots, or if I would shoot the hell out of them, because I don't know what happened to those slingshots when they're out of his sight and out of his possession. But it didn't happen, and thank God that it didn't happen, and thank God I had trackers on there. So I tell people this: one of the best things I've ever done was put trackers on my slingshots. I'm telling you, it's worth its weight in gold, and it's not expensive at all. So after he drove 15 hours and brought him back to my house here in Texas, and even he said this. He said that even though it was his mistake, you know, he wouldn't have charged me for it, right? He wouldn't have charged me for that mistake. But I really thought about it, guys, and I really said to myself, and I talked to my wife, and I did pay him the $1,500 to do it. Regardless of what happened and things like that, I still paid him. And the reason why I paid him is because A, it was a mistake. 2, there was no harm, no foul. They weren't left, and they weren't stolen, and they were not damaged. And plus, 2, he spent not only, I don't know how many hours from Atlanta to Ohio, and then turn around and do from Ohio to Texas. That's a lot of driving. That's a lot of gas. His truck was a gas guzzler, okay? So at least, if anything, that $1,500 pretty much probably broke even for the money that he spent in gas, literally towing a 30-foot trailer. So yes, guys, I paid him, and I thought that's the right thing to do. But I learned a very valuable lesson. Like I said just moments ago, get trackers for your slingshot. I'm telling you, trackers will save you a lot of headaches. And at the end of the day, even on trackers, if somebody wants something, they're gonna get it. So it's just a way of just having that extra protection, that thing in your mind that at least if they get stolen or something happens to them, you know, at least know where they're at. Okay, so now that I look at what at the time it happened, I was a bunch of emotions. I was scared, nervous, sad, mad, and hurt. All those within like just at one time. But now that everything got taken care of, I got my slingshots. Now I look at it and be like, whoo, boy, that was a close one. And I kind of laugh about it. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Drive and road. Just those two little words were like 15 hours apart for that guy. And honestly, I felt bad for the guy. That's another reason why I paid him. I felt bad for him because not only did he drive that, he drove 15 hours straight. I told him, just, get here when you get here, be safe. Because I'd rather him take the time, get some sleep, and drive carefully than be up and possibly correct because he fell asleep behind the wheel. Now, what good is that going to do me? He died. My slingshots are totaled. I'd feel really bad, to be honest with you. Because someone's life is not worth these slingshots, to be honest with you. So, that is my story. Oh boy, that I think about it, just really was just really nerve wracking when you think your stuff is being stolen. And what made it worse is that I was powerless. I couldn't do nothing about it. At least if you, the thing is at least if say you had an alarm on there and someone's messing with it and you hear it, or someone says, hey, someone's alarm's going off, someone's stealing your slingshot, you can run out there and possibly stop them. But when they are states away and hours away, you feel totally helpless and there's nothing you can do, right? So, just guys, just like I said, get you an alarm or get you a tracker, but get something. So that, guys, that's the first video of my story, and I hope you enjoyed it because I did, and can't wait for the next one.